Good evening. Justin Thomas at 202 West Sexton Road, and I'm here tonight to talk to you a few minutes about part of the city that we may not think about very often unless we're thinking about water infrastructure problems, maybe low-income, affordable housing, neighborhood stabilization, and challenge us to think a little bit differently about how we might develop this part of the city. And the part of the city that I'm referring to is the northwest area of Douglas Park neighborhood. It might be more commonly known as where Oak Towers is located, the intersection of North Garth and Sexton Road. And so when we're talking about this area, it's important to keep in mind the role that community development block grants play in development there. And in particular, I wanted to point out tonight the resolution that was passed in 2010 that extended the neighborhood stabilization program eligible area there. And as part of that, there was a list of potential uses that the funds could be made available for different projects in that area. And I also wanted to point out some other recent actions. Purchase of vacant properties on West Sexton by the city in 2010, some recent purchases of property on that site by the Columbia Housing Authority, some other land banking that has happened more recently in the watershed, and the initiative to create open space and green infrastructure plan. So some of us may be familiar with the mayonnaise jar metaphor, but essentially you have the empty jar, you fill it with golf balls, and you ask if it's full. And to show that it's not, you add sand, and to show that it's still not full, you add some liquid. But I'm using it to point out that once the liquid percolates down through the sand, hits the bottom of the jar, it eventually starts percolating back up. And so that's a process that we have going on in this part of the city when we're talking about rainfall and infiltration. And so not only do we have the water coming up, but we have it passing through and across the surface. And it goes into Flat Branch and then eventually Hinkson Creek. So this is the area that I'm talking about. And I'm right up here, 202 West Sexton. And this is my house, my neighbor's houses. We sit right on top of that watershed. And so what you see underneath our houses are basements. We have soil and infrastructure. And then we have the water table. And so you know, last summer during the drought that we had, it was just maybe 4 feet below my basement. There was standing water throughout the entire summer. And so during a normal year, that's right there, if not above the level of the basement floor. So when we have rain, the soil is saturated and the infrastructure is surrounded. And when we have really significant events, we get stuff like this. So to situate ourselves here again in the watershed, there's Oak Towers, the intersection of Garth and Sexton. These are the properties that were purchased by the city with Neighborhood Stabilization Program funds, 2010. This northeast corner of the intersection was recently rezoned for planned unit development. It's currently a park. And here's the property on Worley that was also recently purchased by the city. And I encourage anyone to go by, take a look at the place, and ask yourself if you think that that's a property that should be torn down. So we have the CHA, the Columbia Housing Authority, purchasing that property, that one, and some others right there around the site. So again, here's from the resolution in 2010. You can see the Neighborhood Stabilization Program amended area right there towards the center. And to kind of crudely superimpose the previous image, that's kind of where it falls right smack dab in the middle of that amended area. So the issues here, watershed management. We have a relatively high water table, and consistently high water table. We have infrastructure that's undergoing improvements, but still not in the best of shape. And these two, coincidentally, lead to questions about the water quality in the neighborhood. And if we're looking to increase affordable housing in this area, how we're doing it, we should question how that's contributing to the property values in the neighborhood and the community health. And I think that asking questions about the aesthetics and environmental factors and recreation opportunities are important in that regard as well. So just in conclusion, I'm asking that maybe we consider the benefits of including this area within the open space and green infrastructure planning process, and also considering whether it's necessary to maybe amend the resolution to include the public facility use as an eligible use under the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.